Hello everybody and welcome to GIGABYTE PCs. I'm excited to bring you the first video for this channel. I plan on doing everything from simple how-tos and troubleshooting all the way up to building a brand new computer and benchmarking it to see what it's capable of. The one thing that's going to kind of set my channel apart from everyone else is usually whenever I build a computer, I'm going to be putting it up for auction probably on eBay. As soon as the video goes live, I will be putting it on eBay. And I will link the eBay link down below, and on my eBay selling page or whatever they call it, I will have a link to the YouTube channel, so if you're interested in buying and you're looking at this on eBay, you can see it on YouTube. Today I have a budget gaming PC that I started putting together a few weeks ago, but the original power supply that I ordered was dead on arrival, so I had to wait a few weeks for the new one to come in. So I'm going to go over the part list right now, and then we're going to get into putting the new power supply in, doing cable management, and then we're going to start benchmarking. The processor is an AMD Athlon 2 quad core. It's a used processor. I had it in my old gaming PC. It's worth probably $20–30, but it was a very well taken care of processor. I didn't ever abuse it. I had a nice aftermarket cooler on it, and I never overclocked. The motherboard is a GIGABYTE 970A DS3P. It is a very solid motherboard. I have an identical one in my fiance's computer that has been running for 3 or 4 years now, no problems at all. I have Avexir DDR3 4GB, two 4GB sticks that is blue LED RAM that lights up and flashes blue whenever the system is on and running. I have a SAPPHIRE RX 460. It's a SAPPHIRE NITRO RX 460. That means it's overclocked and it has 4 gigs versus the normal 2 gigs that come in a RX 460 graphics card. The power supply is a RAIDMAX Scorpio 535 watt. It's a little bit over what is necessary for the system, but it gives you upgradability. If you want to put in a RX 470 or an RX 480 or even go up to the RX 5 series, you should be able to handle it with this 535 watt power supply. The chassis I'm building in is a Cooler Master MasterBox 5. It's my first time ever building in this chassis, and I definitely think I'm going to build in it again. It has ample room in the back for cable management. It has 2 drive bays for regular hard drives and 1 or 2 solid state mounting spots. Trying to remember everything here. For the price, it's a very good case. It even comes with a power supply cover. It's a cheap plastic one, but it's a hard drive. It's a power supply cover, and for the price, you can't beat it. And the 2 hard drives I have in here are Western Digital 250 gigabyte 7200 RPM hard drives. They are also used very lightly. I had them in my computer set up in a RAID 0 configuration, recorded a few videos, and pulled them out and put in a solid state. And I've reformatted them using Western Digital software, so they are just like brand new. And that is it for the parts, so give me a few minutes and I'm going to set up to build this thing. Okay, so I'm going to kind of explain what I'm doing here. I'm showing you that it's a 30 plus bronze power supply and that it is semi-modular. And just in case you didn't know what a 30 plus bronze is, that just means it's 85% power efficient. So say the power supply was 100 watts. At 85% power efficient, it would have to draw roughly 115 watts from the wall outlet to supply 100 watts to your computer. So, and it goes up from bronze to gold, platinum, titanium, I believe. So, and with it being semi-modular, that means there's a few plugs permanently attached, and then the rest you can put in as you need them. So what it came with was the ATX connector for the main motherboard, the 4-pin/8-pin connector for the CPU, I say /8-pin because if you run dual CPUs or some high-end CPUs require 8-pin connectors. And then I had the 6/8 pin connector for the graphics card. And again, some graphics cards take 8 pins, some take 6 pins. Some take dual 6, some take dual 8 pin. And this power supply gives you the option to do that because it's semi-modular. You can add on as you need. So right here I'm just hooking in the cables, and I'm trying to think of cable management as I go to make it easier. If you don't plan it out even a little, I mean even a little bit of planning helps out a lot in the long run. So, and I didn't do the best I possibly could do cable management wise, but it'll definitely work pretty well. And some people out there will say you need to do cable management because it helps with the airflow in the case, but really that isn't the case. You'd have to literally block the fans directly to interrupt the airflow. So the reason I do cable management is, one, it looks good, and two, if you're ever doing anything inside your computer, like say you upgrade your graphics card, in my opinion it is a lot easier to work on with the cables being run in the back like this. It just makes things so much easier because I never used to do cable management in any of my computers, and anytime I had to open it up and remove something, say the RAM, I had to fight a bunch of cables that were in the way. So once I learned about cable management, I've done it ever since. And I don't go all out and do custom jobs where you literally measure the lengths and cut them and then rewire it. I just literally kind of tuck them away, hide them, put them in the back. And I've forgotten to put that one sticker RAM back in, so I was just kind of showing that. And again, those are blue LED RAM. They flash. It's very neat looking. And I put one blue LED strip. So I'm getting ready to show what the computer looks like when it's turned on. And back to those cables, there is a little bit of ketchup and mustard going on, but what do you expect for a cheap power supply? But the sleeving over the cables is black and blue, and it looks pretty nice. So there's the system all lit up for the world to see. I wish I had more RAM to throw in there, so that way there would be 4 flashing in sequence instead of just 2. But yeah, it is 8 gigabytes of RAM, so I mean it'll do. So here I ran the Heaven benchmark, and it got an average of 47 frames per second with a low of 19 and a high of 104. So it is definitely acceptable by my standards, at least. I'm not a snob where I expect 120 to 200 frames per second on everything, no matter what. If it's over 30, I'm usually happy, but my ideal frame rate is 60 plus, and this got 47, so it was running at a rate where it didn't seem like there was any stuttering, and it actually looked pretty smooth. There was a little bit of jittering in between the transitions of scenes, but that's to be expected. It has to load the new scene pretty quick. So here I was just trying to get the camera up closer so you could see all those numbers, and then I thought I cut this out, but I was toying around with doing some adjusting on the camera there, but I forgot to cut that part out, so you have to suffer. Sorry about that. There's my messy cable management coming out of my monitors. So we're going to jump into the GTA 5 test, and I was pleasantly surprised on this because I was expecting 30s, maybe 40s at best, but it surprised me, and it was running at 60, and sad to say I accidentally cut off the frames per second, the FPS counter on the top left, but it was running between 55 and 63 most of the time. So here I was just going to check the settings to see what it's running at, because I was thinking, oh, it's probably running at medium to get this kind of FPS, but I found out otherwise, and here it was set to 720 resolution for some reason. So I bumped it up to 1080, and then I also checked the settings. And bumping it up to 1080 the 60 frames per second around there was at 1080. I can't remember what it was running at 720. I think it was in the upper 60s, lower 70s, but I can't remember for sure. So here I was just checking a few things, and I was trying to turn down the population density a little bit because I know that can affect your CPU a little bit. And this is just a basic quad core, AMD Athlon quad core. But you see everything is on high and very high. So here's with it at 1080p instead of 720. And it's still running at 60 frames per second around. And you'll see a little bit of choppiness. That is just because I'm recording this with a webcam. Hopefully I'm going to buy a capture card sometime soon, so you can get the full experience of the game. You can get the audio, you can hear everything. Although I'm pretty happy. Well, I don't know. I'm not gonna say happy, but they're dropping a lot of F-bombs in this game, and I don't know if I want that kind of language on my channel, because I'm trying to make a family-oriented channel, even though you're not going to sit down with your family and watch someone build and test a computer. But if someone out there does, I would like to keep it that where I can. So here's the scene with the explosion. It dropped to 45 frames per second, I think, if I remember right. But it's still very playable. I was pleasantly surprised with how well this game ran. So here's the part where you collect all the money. You would think that if they're going to rob a bank, they would rob a bank to get more than $170 some odd thousand, because split 4 ways, that's not even 50 grand a piece. But then again, I think this is back in the 1980s. Money went a lot further back then. And this was my first time playing this game on PC. I have beat this game on PlayStation 3. I bought it on PS3 whenever it first came out. So I'm trying to get used to the controls here, trying to remember what does what, or remember trying to figure out. It has little pop-ups, tooltip, game tips, but I'd rarely pay attention to that. I'm a real gamer. I don't ever listen to game tips or watch them. And it handled this explosion pretty well. It only dropped into the 50s right here. So now you get to see my pro shooting capabilities. Not. I played this again after I was done doing the benchmarks on my personal desktop. Did a lot better that time. I didn't almost die, because I came pretty close to dying on this part. So don't make fun of my gameplay too much. That guy, I got lucky that I had to reload right then, otherwise he would have been dead before he got a shot off. So the game experience, in my opinion, was actually pretty good. I'm not gonna say it was ideal. I'm sure if I had a 140 hertz monitor and been used to the gaming like that, then yeah, I might be like, oh well, this isn't as good as I'd like it to be, but it's okay. Honestly, I was perfectly happy with this gameplay, and for your average budget gamer, I guarantee you're going to be happy with this as well. Now, if you're the kind of person that has to play CS:GO on 200 frames per second at the minimum 100 and some odd hertz monitor, yeah, you might not enjoy this. This PC is not for you anyway. Although I'm pretty sure it would run CS:GO at 100 plus frames per second, because it's handling this one on 1080p at 60 frames per second, no problem. And even in this car scene, it was there's a little bit of choppiness because of my webcam, but whenever I was playing, I did not notice any choppiness at all. It was running smooth, and I mean, I can't say this enough. I was really surprised because the processor's a little bit older, but it is a good processor. I ran it in my own personal PC for a couple of years, and it did me justice. So right here, I failed the mission because I took a wrong turn on those railroad tracks, so I wasn't paying attention to the mini-map. But that'll finish out the GTA benchmark test. So as you can tell, we're going into a Fallout 4 test. I expected more out of this than what it got after doing the GTA test, but it is what it is. I was expecting it to run around 60 frames per second, but it didn't. It ran between 25 and 30 frames per second. And I'm sure if you could go in and change the settings down, because it auto sets the settings on Fallout 4 and it set it to very high, and the only way I've found to change the settings is to go into the game files and change some settings in there. And I'm sure if you did and lowered it down to high/medium, this game would run perfectly fine. But I can tell you right now, it looks very stuttery. I don't even know if that's a word, but it's not very smooth. But in real life, the gameplay was nowhere near that bad. It was actually playable. I'm not going to say it was fantastic, but it was playable. And again, if you're the kind of person that is willing to go in and change a few settings in some game files and lower the graphics on here, I'm sure it would run better than 25-30 frames per second. And also, once I got out of Diamond City, the FPS went up a little bit. It didn't hit the 60 mark that I would like to see, but it was running above 30. Yeah, this is the one downside to using hard drives instead of a solid state, is the long load times. But all of my future builds will feature solid states. I just threw the 2 hard drives in here because I had them laying around, and I had decided I was going to do this build based on the parts I already had, the hard drives and the CPU. So that's why I'm calling this like an extreme budget build. Total, I just remembered I didn't even include the cost of the hard drives in my parts list. And I'm probably not going to, because I got them really cheap. They were $15 a piece, $20 a piece. I got them, I don't remember when exactly. And here I'm fighting a legendary ride scorpion, and I get pwned by it because it goes underground, and I was looking where Paladin Dance was shooting at, trying to figure out what he was doing, and the scorpion came up right behind me, or beside me, and went into full frenzy mode and kicked my butt. So yeah, don't make fun of me too much. I haven't played this game in quite a while. I was just dusted it off for some benchmarking tests. And I'm not going to do the graphs and get all super technical like some of these other guys. I just want to show you what these computers can do. So here I went into Battlefield 1 and I didn't get FPS counted for this because I don't have any third-party software or anything like that, and I didn't look up how to do it. I just wanted to jump into it because by this time I'd been recording the video all day long and I was in a hurry to finish it up. And that's why I went all Rambo and jumped in and got killed pretty quick. But it was smooth. I guarantee you it was running 50 plus frames per second, and it was on, I believe it was on high settings, so it looked pretty good and it played pretty well. I was satisfied with this. So I'm still a little bit confused after, you know, this game running as well as it did and GTA 5 running as well as it did, why Fallout 4 is lacking so much. And so I did some research and I heard a lot of people were saying that it was the game engine used to build Fallout 4, that it is, what are the words they used? It is not very friendly on CPUs or GPUs, so maybe that's what it was. But I mean, most other games are going to run perfectly fine. And like I said, if you drop the settings on Fallout 4, it'd probably run that pretty well. But here, I mean, my experience as I was playing was buttery smooth. It did not lag at all. I didn't experience any stutters. I just went berserk mode with a shotgun and killed pretty much everybody the whole time, and you're like one hit away from death. And I think I commented that I wish I wasn't close to death the whole time, so that way it wasn't going in slow-mo. But because at least on this part of the game, whenever you're nearly dead, it keeps everything just really slow. And here the flame guys just did not want to die. So got him caught on fire and went and found someone else to kill. I think it was another flame guy. Yep. And once they caught him on fire, I decided to run because I didn't want to get blown up with him. I couldn't save my friend there. The Germans were overrunning us. And again, I'm near dead, so it's on slow-mo. Hit him with my E-tool. Stupid flame guys. Hit him with my E-tool, but it didn't do anything to him. I guess they got some kind of super legendary armor that makes them like walking tanks, but who knows. Pull out my pistol. I forgot I did that. So yeah, I ran out of shotgun ammo. No, I shot my guy there. Ran out of shotgun ammo, so I started using the pistol on everyone. I'll load my last 2 rounds in the shotgun that I have left. And let's go use them. Missed the first one, wasted it. So now I'll pull out the pistol. I believe it's a 1911. And I'm on fire. Trying to crouch and roll around and see if I can put out the fire. And everything is going really smooth. That little glitch down on the screen, I didn't even see that as I was playing. That's something the camera picked up. So I imagine it's probably the lower refresh rate on my TV versus the 1080p 60 FPS on my camera. So here I was going into the video settings trying to figure out what it's all set at, and it is at 1920 by 1080 at 59.9 hertz. I didn't know exactly how to look at what everything's on, so I was looking around, and yeah, everything's on medium on here. I'm sorry, not high like I previously stated, but it still looked great. It ran pretty well. My FPS had to have been around the 60 mark, and that is the gaming benchmark. Because I forgot about this tank part. I thought I shut it off for that. I guess not. But I mean, you've seen how it's handling this major AAA title that is a fairly new game. It's only been out a little over a year, I think. So this would probably handle anything coming out for the next few years on medium settings. If you were willing to upgrade the graphics card and put a RX 480 or 580 in there, or bump it up to a GTX 1070, it would probably last a lot longer than that. But if you were going to do that, I would highly recommend upgrading the processor to an FX series. You can find them on sale. I saw a FX 8350 on sale for $80 the other day, and I expect them to go even cheaper with the release of Ryzen. So keep a lookout. You could probably get some used FX processors even cheaper. Looks too bright through the camera. You can't see anything I'm aiming at. And again, that's because of my webcam. Eventually I'm going to upgrade to a better camera, and I'm going to get a capture card so you'll get the real game experience, not just me pointing a camera at the screen. So now you've seen what this computer is capable of. I would thank you for watching, and I hope to release many more videos like this in the future. Well, actually I plan on getting better production quality and upgrading my equipment as soon as I can afford it, but for now this is what I have, and I hope everyone has a great afternoon or evening or morning, well, depending on when you're watching this, and see you later.